Welcome back to day 2 of the Material Innovation Conference. Yesterday was a very successful and enlightening day, and thank you to everyone who joined and participated in the discussions. One person actually told me that the audience questions were by far the most engaged and well articulated that she'd ever seen in a conference. We have so many intelligent and passionate people in this movement that it was really evident yesterday, and I'm sure will be just as true today. If you missed yesterday, I highly recommend watching the videos on the on-demand section on the left-hand side of your screen. The videos will be available for 3 months post-conference. You just log into the same platform as you joined us today, and you will have access to all of the videos and be able to chat with fellow attendees. So this morning, I want to highlight 4 themes from yesterday. First, there's huge opportunity in this industry. Elaine Sue showed us the significant growth in the industry so far and where it is poised to go. Sydney Gladman showed us all of the different technologies used to create next-gen materials, indicating there's a variety of foundations companies can use to make more sustainable and cruelty-free materials. We saw a few examples of those technologies and the beautiful, supple, and very leather-like materials made by Forager, Vitro Labs, Natural Fiber Welding, and MycoWorks. Second, innovation takes time, and we need to be patient. Even Lauren Sherman of Business of Fashion stated, the lesson of the day is patience. While some of these materials are on the market and some are launching new products this year, there's still a lot of room for improvement. Our Understanding Innovation roundtables on silk, leather, and down went into more detail on how companies are working on innovation and the necessity for time and financial resources to meet consumers' performance, aesthetic, and sustainability demands before they can even tackle scaling. We also heard from all of the material companies and brands that you cannot go to market with a subpar material. Sophia Wang from MycoWorks also stressed the need for artistry in materials, as they cannot just be functional, but also beautiful. As Jamie Arbib from Rethink X said in the disruption panel, in order for a new material to take over a market, it must improve on the cost and capabilities of the incumbent. So I want to personally stress a principle that we believe in strongly at MII, which is progress, not perfection. The fashion industry is facing a lot of challenges which we need to address quickly. But none of these products are perfect yet and may never will be. But they are all better than the incumbents, and all companies are working on improving. Innovation takes time. We need to support these companies and each other as we are all working towards the same goal. This brings me to the third theme, which is these materials are poised on the whole to be significantly better than their animal-based and synthetic counterparts, which is what the disruption panel said is required of any new product. Throughout the presentations, we heard how next-gen materials are poised to be significantly more sustainable, have a much shorter lead time, can be produced locally, are better for human health, and since they are not limited to the biological constraints of the animal, companies can better meet the needs of the industry. Like Ingvar Helgelsen said of Vitro Labs, making sheets of real animal, they can do it much bigger than current hides. Fourth, and finally, this change is coming and you need to be prepared. We heard in the disruption panel how change takes time, but then once the product improves on the cost and capabilities of the incumbent, change happens very quickly. As we heard from all of the companies today, they're very close to meeting, the companies yesterday, they're very close to meeting these factors, and many are poised to scale this year. So today, most of the panels are centered around the theme that even though the industry has made significant progress, there's still a lot we need to do to meet industry's requirements and demand. You will hear in the sustainability panel that while these materials are significantly better for the environment, there's still confusion around the data, And most environmental impact assessments cannot be compared to others, thus making it difficult for industry to truly understand the impact of their decisions. We will hear in the performance panel that while most of these materials are very close to replicating the incumbents, there's still work to do, and there's some areas where we just can't sacrifice on performance. We will hear in the supply chain panel that while some of these materials can easily integrate into the existing supply chain, sometimes it isn't a plug and play. You will also hear from Joshua Titelbaum of Aiken & Gump, a very well-respected international law firm, that there are still tariff, policy, and regulation issues facing the industry, creating barriers to trade and competition. Our white space roundtables discuss 3 different areas for additional R&D, showing us there's still a lot of opportunity to improve on the end products, as well as creating component products supporting this industry. Our investment panel will discuss how investors are looking at this industry and what they need to see from material companies when pitching for funds. We will also hear about brands can help lead this industry from Michael Praisman from Everlane, who's going to talk about how he grew Everlane and keeps sustainability at the forefront of the business. And finally, we will end the day on a positive note, hearing from a consumer research expert about how consumers view next-gen materials. And now I'm really thrilled to welcome our first speaker of the day, Haïkel Balti, CEO of Faircraft, a mechanical engineer and material scientist by training. Haïkel has built an outstanding capability to transform deep technological breakthroughs into exciting customer-oriented and purpose-led products. Passionate about design and traditional manufacturing methods, he is a strong advocate for putting science at the service of environmental efficiency and creativity. Haïkel, welcome to the stage.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Hi, everybody. My name is Haïkel Balti. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Faircraft. I'm here today to tell you about the leather that we're growing in a lab, leveraging biotechnology, but also traditional craftsmanship. Faircraft is a company that is based in Paris. It's a company that I have co-founded with César Valencia Gallardo, my co-founder and CTO, in March 2021. We're now a team of 14 people, mostly scientists, engineers, makers. And we, so far, have raised $4.6 million in equity and debt from VCs, business angels, and the French Public Bank of Investments. So we've never disclosed this fundraise, but now was a good time for it. To give you a bit more background about myself and about César, so I'm a material scientist and mechanical engineer by training, as Nicole was saying. Basically, prior to co-founding Faircraft with César, I've spent 6 years developing, scaling, and managing the development of hardware deep tech products at Withings or in Voxia. César, my co-founder and CTO, has spent 10 years in academic research. Throughout his career as an academic researcher at Collège de France or Institut Pasteur, he has developed an exceptional skill set in biochemistry, cell biology, but also material science that is core to the design of our unique material. So when we met with César through a program called Entrepreneur First, it was an entrepreneurship program, we felt like we came on our common ground of material science, and we felt like nature was providing us with all the necessary tools to provide highly efficient materials that are sustainable, but that are also exciting to work with. So we started thinking about what materials we could start with, and leather was actually a great material to grow in a lab. But why growing leather in a lab? As Emily Bird from the Material Innovation Initiative was saying, basically a brand's choice of raw materials has a huge impact on the environmental footprint of the products that we're wearing every day. The fashion industry is actually one of the most polluting industry in the world. And leather is among the most polluting, if not the most polluting material used in the fashion industry. It's a material that many people like for its robustness, for its aesthetics. It's also a material that causes several challenges in terms of pollution, in terms of ethics, and in terms also of working conditions in some canneries. So we started discussing with brands, and we understood that brands were under tremendous pressure to become more ethical, more sustainable, because they wanted to be active in this change to become more efficient, environmentally speaking, but also because consumers were more and more environmentally conscious. There are some new approaches that are emerging for some resource-intensive materials, such as polymers. For example, the collaboration with Party for the Ocean and Adidas sold out in a matter of seconds, showing that consumers are actively looking for alternative materials. But how about leather? So for leather, there are mainly two options now in terms of alternatives: plant or mushroom-based, and the cell-based alternatives. There are upsides and challenges in both of them. So for the plant and mushroom-based, these are great materials because they have no animal content in them, and there is a direct road to scale up for these materials, which is a great aspect to have actual impact. But there are some challenges also. Sometimes they rely on heavy finishes for mechanical performance, which gives basically their touch and feel it gives some difficulties regarding touch and feels. The other aspect, or the other route to produce an alternative to leather, is basically going to the cell-based route, which gets a lot of inspiration from the lab-grown meat also. There are some upsides. It replicates the actual material that we're used to. So basically, it's all about replicating a skin to replicate leather. It also leverages traditional techniques for transformation, such as tanning. But there are some great challenges, such as cost decrease, but also scale up, which requires the development of new techniques to reach scale. So on our solution, basically what we did with Cesar, as you have seen, we were not from the world of fashion, we were not from the world of leather. So basically we went and discussed with brands, but also with creatives and with leather professionals to actually understand what leather was about. And then we took the best of cellular culture, material science, and tissue engineering techniques to come up with a unique and patented process to allow us to grow an outstanding lab-grown leather that is compatible with large-scale manufacturing. Our material is built for sustainability. We're cutting CO2 emissions and tiny chemicals by over 90%. It's built for quality. We're actually replicating skin at a micro level to replicate the characteristics of leather at a macro level. So skin is made from cells, but also extracellular matrix, which is basically collagen, elastin, which is organized in a certain way. And that's actually what we're replicating in our material to give the material its outstanding durability, its amazing touch and feel. But once again, new materials should not be seen as a punishment. It's not because a material is sustainable that it's supposed to be less exciting to work with. And so our material was actually crafted for the creatives. It allows endless softness possibilities, dyeing possibilities as well. And so I can show you a couple of samples. Maybe you can. I'll stop sharing. All right, here are a couple of examples of what we're doing today. So this is this lab-grown material. As you can see, it's very soft. It's basically in terms of thickness, it's an aspect that we can fine-tune as well. So we have like different types of material, different types of processes that we can adjust depending on basically the needs of the clients, depending of the use cases that are required. Maybe a bit more on our process. I will try to turn back in the. Okay. In terms of process, to replicate skin in the lab to turn it into a leather, we need to go through 3 key processes. First, we need to build a scaffold. A scaffold is basically a three-dimensional structure that helps cells organize in 3D. We need to build the scaffold in a certain way that cells attach to it. This scaffold needs to have different characteristics, but this scaffold usually, when we look at what's being done to test, for example, cosmetics or what's being done in the pharma industry, usually they are made using very expensive raw materials, and they are hard to put basically to put at the right geometry. And so some of the key processes that we have implemented and patented are basically ways to create scaffolds at large scale using already available systems that are available in the industry. So that's part of the key technology for us. In terms of cellular culture, once we have this scaffold, this three-dimensional structure, we need to seed cells on this scaffold. So on this aspect, once we have developed processes allowing us from a single biopsy to cultivate millions of square meters of leather. So that's also part of the key processes that we're implementing. We need to add cell media to the cells. This is also part of what we are developing in-house. And then we tan the material to turn it into a leather. So for the tanning part, what we decided to do was to actually go and talk with the people who knew how to handle skins. So tanners were the best people to discuss with, and basically to put these processes at scale. So for us, for example, you can see like these testing drums that we're using. It's located in a tannery, traditional tannery that we're partnering with, which allows us basically to test different tanning methods. All right. To show you how it looks like before and after tanning, on the left, it's our lab-grown skin, straight after the cell culture process, I would say. And on the right, it's what we obtain after a tanning process. So the material that you're seeing now, a bit closer, is tanned and retanned, but has no finishing. So the grain is completely natural, and there is no extra finishing. It's really like the material as rough as it can be. So what's next for us as a company? Our focus is to put these great materials in the hands of end consumers. So if you are a brand looking for new materials to be used in your products, please reach out. We're already discussing with many brands, but very happy to have a chat. We're extending our team extensively to work on the material itself, but also to industrialize our process. We've already hired talents in this respect, but we will need more people to reach scale. But also on some positions such as product management, for example. We are already working and are looking to work with innovators in the tanning process, for the tanning process, but also for dyes. Once again, the whole objective for us is to have a process that is completely sustainable from end to finish. And so it means also working with great innovators across the different steps of the process. And then after, what's next after this? It's actually to decline our leather into different versions based on customer needs. It can mean different animals, it can mean different thicknesses, different touch and feels. We have like key technologies that we have implemented, allowing us to fine-tune different aspects, such as the grain, for example. But even we can push our technological platform far ahead of leather. This will be for in a longer period of time, I would say, to create new bio-inspired materials with outstanding performance. Thank you so much. If you have any question, please reach out.
Thank you so much. I love it when we get to see behind the scenes. And that video was really incredible. I haven't seen anything like that before. Thank you so much for sharing. So we actually do have some questions. I know I have some of my own, but I will defer to the audience first. So here is one from Craig, and it's a question on benchmarking. We heard yesterday that the hide is only 3 to 5% the value of the cow. What allocation methodology is commonly used in the assertion that leather is highest impact fashion material? How much of the impact is from the animal and how much is from post-processing and tanning?
So the benchmark that we're taking is actually a study that was made and shown at a conference called UNIDO in Shanghai in 2012, describing the environmental impact of bovine leather. And so it's normalizing the environmental impact of leather based on the value of the skin of the cow. So basically, it's normalized based on the value.
Mm-hmm. I think I've read that study too, where they take the if the value of the cow is say 5%, then they take 5% of the environmental impact of the cow pre-slaughter.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And Craig too, I'd recommend joining the sustainability panel because I think we'll talk a lot more about that in more detail. And then here's the next question from Christina. Is the material biodegradable or compostable, and still biodegradable or compostable after the tanning process?
So this aspect we need to work on to qualify it. I won't give any information that were not checked. So for us, it's still work in progress. We need to evaluate this aspect.
Great, thank you. And part of the theme that I mentioned from yesterday too is how much I really appreciate when companies are honest. And we heard that from the companies yesterday too, in that, and I talked about this morning, progress, not perfection, that your material already is significantly better for the environment, but we do need to work on end of life.
Yeah, definitely.
And here's another question. Do the tanning methods you've developed work for other materials?
So the tanning methods that we're using are directly derived from the tanning methods that are being used and implemented in the traditional leather world, I would say. So in the traditional leather world, there are different types of tanning processes. Some of them using minerals, some of them not. We're not using any minerals in our tanning processes. And we're actually working with innovators within the tanning world to put together some tanning methods that are specific to our case. But the ones that we have been implementing so far are directly derived from the ones that are being used, using basically what's being the state of the art, I would say, in terms of environmental efficiency for tanning methods.
So you're using the same methods they use for animal hide tanning, but the state of the industry for that.
Exactly. So basically on the traditional tanning process, there are many different steps that we don't need because we are not producing any hair, we are not producing any fat. We are cultivating the required, or I would say the required thickness for the end leather. So if you tan natural, traditional bovine hide, I would say, so like the skin is 1 or 2 inches thick. You have to remove hair, you have to remove fat, you have to cut through the thickness, but the whole thing you need to tan it before. So it's we're also decreasing the effect of tanning because of the actual volume that we're tanning.
Yeah, makes sense. So I did have a couple of questions. I think you mentioned that using your process, you could create skins from different types of animals, not just bovine cow. Is that possible with the technology?
Yeah, it's possible with the technology because what we're actually building is a platform that can be used to grow biomaterials using different types of cells. So for us, like the next step is really like to open up new possibilities to create materials with outstanding performance that we have never seen, to have materials that are not just seen as alternatives, but which are seen as better materials that are more exciting to work with.
Oh. I have heard that about the cell cultivation technology, that I think that fashion industry always loves new things, and like theoretically now we could use any animal because you can gather those cells. and grow them. So we have one more question. Are you also working with factories on final products?
As a manufacturer, so at Faircraft, we're working on the raw material, I would say, not on the end products. We believe our value add is basically on designing great materials to be put in the hands of creatives across brands, various designers, and so basically we're only working on the material, not on end products being transformed by like using these materials.
Great. And it sounds like from your brand partnerships that you do have that back and forth, that they do review the materials, see how that would work in the end product, and they're bringing that expertise to you as your partner.
Yeah, the like relationships with brands are really key for companies like ours. Actually, like even before incorporating the company with Cesar, we had already started reaching out to brands. Once again, we were not from the world of fashion or anything. We just simply reached out to some people over LinkedIn or over some friends of friends of friends. But like the response was amazing for us, and we got great support from the beginning. At the beginning, just to understand what material we were actually trying to create, and every step of the process, we were also like incorporating brands in our developments.
Next question from Carolyn is, has the material been tested in factories, including in shoe factories and handbags?
So for us, it's working. We're doing these tests as we speak now. So we're producing materials, improving the materials step by step, testing different tanning methods, testing different finishes and everything, and testing like these materials in an actual framework. So it's really part of the development process for us. That's why from the very beginning, we're like every change that we're making on the I would say skin model development, we go throughout the whole process until tanning to test the material and its overall performance.
And I'm sure a lot of people are interested. Do you know when you might come to market with the materials? And if people wanted to work with them or work with you, how should they get in touch?
So they can get in touch through our website. I've shared also my email in the presentation. So super happy to get in touch, and then for the time where we get to market, soon will be will be my answer.
Nice. Well, we are going to talk about in the performance panel today about how it really is critical to complete that R&D, that you don't want to go to market with a subpar product, that it really does need to meet industry demand. And we do have people already in the chat offering help and looking to work with the product.
Great.
Will you be going through any new investment raises soon? Are you looking to talk to investors?
Yeah, definitely. It's always a good thing to discuss with investors. So why not? We're not actively raising at the moment, but yeah, happy to discuss with investors.
Okay, another question. So unfortunately, Lee has had some issues with molds growing on their leather products when they're stored too long in humid environments. And they're wondering if your material might solve that issue.
That's something we need to explore. That's not something that we have experienced so far. We are lucky to have pretty mild temperature and humidity conditions here in Paris. So we didn't experience like any molds on our materials, but that's something that we would need like to experiment as well.
And you did say too that you can make the sheets of leather much bigger than the hide, so you can tailor the size towards the needs of the consumer. Can you also change the thickness or anything else about the product to meet the brand's demands?
Yeah, definitely. We have different aspects that can vary. The surface is one aspect. The thickness is another aspect. We're opening up a lot of possibilities in terms of colors as well. So that's another aspect in terms of touch and feel, also in terms of softness of the material. So there are many different aspects that we can fine tune to meet the customer's demand.
Do you have a product in mind that it would work for first? I know we have people here from the fashion industry who might be interested in shoes or bags or apparel, or even the automotive industry is here too. Is there a specific end product where you think this material would work best?
Today we're working on like different applications, but yeah, can't share much on this aspect right now.
Nice. Huge opportunity. That's also the theme of the conference.
Yeah.
So Concha is asking if the handbag shown on your webpage is made with your material.
No, unfortunately not. It was a picture made for to illustrate illustration purposes.
No, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you did show a piece about this big that did look very supple and soft. Can you tell us how large of a size you've made so far in the test cases?
So right now we're creating materials that are we can vary in size, really depending on customers' demands. Once again, like the processes that we're implementing are some of them we're directly adapting from already available processes that are made for large scale. It was really our starting point. We thought about scale and price. It's not necessarily the thing that in the luxury segment, for example, it's not the primary subject. I would say for the price is always a subject, but not the first subject. I would say in luxury, but still, we as a company we want to have a huge impact. It may sound naive, but our purpose is really to have a huge impact, and for this we need this material to be used in a large amount of products, which means being able to scale our manufacturing process and also to make it at a price point that is compatible with the price structure of current leather products. So really, right now we can fine tune the surface.
Nice. And it sounds like you've been working with a number of tanneries, maybe in France, and definitely I think the French, Italian tanneries are some of the most respected in the world. How have you seen their reception to these materials?
Actually, it's been great with some people. With some people, it's more we have to explain a bit more what we're doing. The whole idea with our product is that it's really a product that enters the traditional value chain of leather. That's why we're incorporating tanneries from the beginning, because our objective is really to solve what's wrong or what's the challenges around leather, and to keep what's most interesting around this industry. And I believe that the craftsmanship is what's the most interesting around around leather. It's a material that has been transformed and worked with for centuries, and it's a material that carries a lot of history, and we want to bring this with also to make our material compatible with this. So that's why we incorporate tanneries from the beginning. And there are some people that are super excited and curious from the beginning. Some other people need a bit more explanation, but then it's always a great relationship that we're creating with tanneries.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Haïkel. I really appreciate your presentation today. And so unfortunately, we're out of time. Of course, we got one more question, but if you could send that over to Haïkel in his email, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer. And then unfortunately, we're going to have to take our quick 30-second break for the on-demand viewers, but we will be back very shortly.